What a perfect day to talk about geopolitics. What a perfect day to talk about geopolitics, guys. It's kind of gloomy, it's dark and overcast. The sky is overcast. When there's clouds over the whole sky like this, we call that overcast. So what a perfect day to talk about geopolitics. What is geopolitics? What does that word mean? Well, you know what politics means, right? Nobody likes politics. But geopolitics, the word geo, or the prefix geo, means the world. Okay, so like geography, you know, when you were in school, did you study geography? That's, you know, studying about the earth. You know, what are the countries, the different continents, you know, maybe the different, I don't know, the different kinds of places in the world, deserts, mountains. Maybe you learned about some mountain ranges. Did you learn about the Canadian Rockies? So, Canadian Rockies are pretty cool. So, geography, it's you know, we're talking about the world, right? So, geopolitics. Geopolitics means kind of we're talking about the whole world, the situation in the world. Okay, we're not talking about just one country. We're talking about the whole world. So, like if I'm talking about Canada, then it's just the politics in Canada. But if I'm talking about geopolitics, we're talking about big issues around the whole world. Okay, so you know it's a big topic, geopolitics. So I want to teach you a new term that you've probably never heard before: horizontal escalation. Guys, I'm just gonna keep walking on the path here. I thought someone was coming, but I think they turned off the path. Look at that, clear sailing ahead. I love it when there are no people in my way. I can just focus on teaching you some English. So, horizontal escalation. Now, if you are listening to the news these days, if you're watching, you know, maybe some YouTube videos that are talking about the geopolitical situation in our world today, you might hear this term, horizontal escalation. I've heard it a lot in the past few months, past year. What does it mean? Okay, horizontal escalation. Well, the word horizontal means like flat, like that. Vertical is up and down. Okay, horizontal and vertical. So, that's easy. It's an easy thing to remember. Now, what about escalation? What does that mean? Escalation means to go up, to increase. Right? That's why when you go to the airport, you need to take the escalator up to the departure level, or departures. I think it's plural. You'll see a sign that says departures up. You know, it's always on the second floor. So you need to take the escalator. You could take the elevator too, but most people take the escalator up to the second level, the departures level. Okay, so escalate means to go up. So if we talk about a situation escalating, that means the situation is getting more serious, or is getting more intense, or maybe more violent, okay, or more dangerous, right? Man, guys, it's freezing out here. Like, it doesn't look that cold, There's no snow. It melted the past few days, but man, it is freezing out here, guys. Should have worn my gloves. Anyway, so escalation. So if we think about this, okay, horizontal escalation. Well, that doesn't make sense, because escalation is always kind of up. It's always some kind of vertical, right? If you want to go up to the second floor, you need to go up. So vertical, it should be vertical escalation, right? Not horizontal. What does horizontal mean? How can you escalate this way? Well, I'll tell you what it means, okay? Now you hear this in geopolitics, okay, in a discussion about geopolitics. We're talking about countries, okay? Now, countries don't like to attack each other directly, right? They don't like to confront. They don't like direct confrontation, okay? Like, imagine if one country says, I am going to invade you. I'm going to send my tanks into your country. Okay, that's vertical escalation. That's direct escalation. You're making the situation much more tense, okay? It's a lot more scary, and wow, it's like, whoa, this is getting serious, right? But very often countries, they escalate horizontally. So what does this mean? It means that they do something indirect to escalate the situation with that country. Okay, so for example, Vladimir Putin, he could give nuclear weapons to North Korea as a way to escalate things with the US. Okay, so if Vladimir Putin would say, okay, we are going to start shooting down US planes in the Middle East or something, right? That would be vertical escalation. That would be direct conflict, right? But countries don't like to do this kind of direct stuff most of the time. What they like to do is horizontal escalation. So if, let's say, China were to give nuclear weapons to Iran as a way of, escalating things with the US. Okay, that would be an example of horizontal escalation. And countries always have different ways that they escalate things horizontally, right? Like, like Iran. Iran has their proxy, Hezbollah, in Lebanon. The word proxy means like not direct, a non-direct, way to fight, like the word proxy war. A proxy war means two big countries are fighting each other, but not directly. They're fighting each other through their proxies. Okay, so one country has a proxy, the other country has a proxy. So like in the Vietnam War, for example, the Soviets were fighting against the US. The USA just likes to get involved in every corner of the world, right? They just like to fight everywhere. So the US, they had their people in Vietnam, and then the Soviets were backing their people in North Vietnam, right? So the same with Korea. That's why we have North Korea and South Korea today, right? The South Korea was a proxy of the US. North Korea was a proxy of, you know, China and Russia, right? Or the Soviet Union at that time, right? So, man, guys, there's so many geese here, and well, there's some ducks there, and then over there is just tons of geese. A lot of geese this time of year. I don't know why they're still here. They should be flying south for the winter. It's too cold to stay out here, guys. I should be flying south for the winter. I'm making the same mistake these geese are. They're staying in Canada for the winter. That's a big mistake, guys. So, so proxy, right? So Iran has a proxy, proxy fighters in Lebanon called Hezbollah. So if Iran wants to do something in the Middle East, they probably will not use their own military. They'll use their proxy, right? So that's what it means to escalate something horizontally, right? So when we talk about geopolitics, this is a very important concept, the concept of escalating horizontally. If a country has the ability, you might hear something like this, okay? USA, like Biden should be careful. Okay, so let me think of a sentence here. So Biden should be careful because Putin can escalate horizontally. Guys, being attacked by a gang of murderers. Then look at, did you see how they just immediately formed a V formation? That is incredible. They were all just swimming there, and then they all took off and they formed a perfect V. A V formation, right? I wonder if they had, when they were on the, I wonder when they were like on the lake here, if they discussed who was going to take which position in the V. Do you think they knew already? Because there's one goose at the front of the flock, right? Like, I wonder how they decide who that person is gonna be. Do you think they decided that before they left? I don't know. Guys, geese are funny animals. But anyway, so horizontal escalation. Countries can escalate horizontally, right? You know, you might hear, you know, people talking about Israel. Okay, they might say Israel has to be careful because Iran can escalate horizontally. Okay, so there's a bunch of different examples we can use, right, around the world. We can think about a country making kind of taking out their anger, not directly, because that would involve a direct exchange. Okay, if the word exchange in this context means fighting, right? If a country attacks another country, that country will attack back, right? That'll be a direct exchange. But if they escalate horizontally, then, you know, they can kind of avoid a direct exchange. Does that make sense? So both of these terms you'll hear in the news or YouTube videos or whatever. You'll hear vertical escalation and horizontal escalation. Okay, so maybe you didn't know that. Let me know in the comments, did you know that term? Horizontal. Remember, horizontal is this way. Okay, so you know, countries do this, like Pakistan offered to give nuclear weapons to Turkey. Now, why would Pakistan offer to give nuclear weapons to Turkey? Well, because they're allies, right? And they know if Pakistan has a certain aim or a certain objective that they think is important, they don't want to do the dirty work themselves, so they might give their nuclear weapons to Turkey. So here you go, here you go, do the dirty work, right? Do the dirty work. The dirty work means that means that the stuff that you don't want to do, right? So if you don't want to do something, you can kind of try to dish it off. If you dish something off, that means you pass, you know, you pass the responsibility to somebody else. You kind of you give up the responsibility and you want someone else to take that responsibility. So if Pakistan doesn't want to attack someone directly, you know, they might give their nukes to Turkey and say, you use our nukes. Right? We're dishing off our responsibility to you, right? So this is you know, this is it's a very serious thing, because if your enemy gives some weapons to another enemy of yours that is a bit more reckless, like North Korea is seen as kind of like a reckless country, right? Reckless means like they're not careful. They won't be careful, right? So if you give weapons to someone who's not careful, that can really escalate things, right, for your enemy. So they, you know, countries like to do this. Guys, I should keep walking. I'm getting cold, freezing my hands off. So anyway, that's what horizontal escalation means. Now, I think I've also heard the term lateral escalation, which would mean the same thing, right? Horizontal means this, and lateral means sideways. Okay, so if I move this way, I'm moving laterally. Like in football, you know, the sport football, where people use their hands. Here in North America, we have a sport called football, where people don't use their feet much, they use their hands. That's called anyway, that's called football. And there's a kind of pass in football. If you pass the ball sideways, that's called a lateral pass. Okay, you're passing the ball laterally. So lateral means sideways. So if you were to escalate something laterally, that means you would escalate this way, not forward, right? So it would have the same meaning. So if you know, if there's so many examples in geopolitics, guys, these days. What's going on in the Middle East, it's interesting. It's very interesting what's developing, but you know, more geese are taking off, guys. See if they make a decision. One person's winning. Now they're gonna form a, oh, it's hard to see, now they're too far away. So it's so weird how they form a V. That's weird, guys. So interesting, guys. So yeah, anyway, there's so many different situations in the Middle East these days where each side can escalate laterally or horizontally, right? So I just wanted to teach you that that term, or those terms, because you will hear them a lot. You know, on my channel here, I like to make videos about real English terms that you will hear in the news. Now, I mean, maybe your interest is in makeup tutorials. Maybe all you do all day is watch makeup tutorials on YouTube. I don't watch any makeup tutorials. So maybe they use certain words that are important to you, but I mean, I don't teach them because they're not important to me, right? I don't even know what those words are. There's probably a special lexicon just for makeup tutorials. Lexicon means a kind of a set of vocabulary for a certain thing. Like, you know, each area that you're interested in has its own like words, its own vocabulary, right? So, you know, I don't know, I just like to teach you the things that I hear every day in my everyday life. Like if I'm watching a YouTube video and the person says a certain term, I like to teach that to you. So maybe I should watch some makeup tutorials, because I know probably half my subscribers are women. Do you watch makeup tutorials? I don't know. Maybe I should learn some terms about makeup and teach you guys some makeup tutorials. I don't know, guys, that'd be weird. Just could watch like a makeup tutorial while I do some cooking, while I make my lunch, just to teach you some new English words. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to teach you about how to put on your makeup and the terms, the English words to use for that. But what are your areas of interest, guys? Let me know in the comments. What are your your top areas of interest? For me, I would say most of the time, the stuff I watch online is, it's either about geopolitics, or about spirituality, or about technology, or sports, or maybe music, or I don't know. There's a bunch of different things. I follow a bunch of different YouTubers, but I don't know. Geopolitics is a big one for me. That's why a lot of the words I like to teach you are about current events, so that you can learn how to understand the news, right? Because if you're watching the news and you don't know a certain word like horizontal escalation, then you kind of miss what they're talking about, right? You don't understand it. I want to help you understand the news and current events, right? Guys, look at all this fluff. Look at this goose fluff. Look at that. That's called fluff, guys. Look at all this fluff. You could call it feathers or down. Okay, a goose, those little feathers, those soft feathers under a goose, like, what is down? I'm just trying to think, what is down? Down, like if you buy a goose down jacket, like this jacket that I'm wearing, it's not down filled. It's, I don't know what's in here, guys. Just cheap. Usually a real goose down jacket would be more expensive. They're probably more expensive, right? They have to spend extra money to fight off all the animal advocates, right? All the animal rights activists who say you can't use any animal products in your jacket. They have to try to keep them away, hire some security guards to keep all those animals rights activists out of their store. I don't know. So goose down means those little soft feathers that are underneath the bigger feathers, I think, right? I don't know. I don't know really what that is, but it's called down. Okay, that's another word for you. For down, another meaning of the word down, and that stuff is called fluff. All right, so anyway, guys, there's your new words today. Hope you learned something, and hope things aren't escalating out of control in your country or in your region. A lot of these things are regional issues. Like you've got the Balkans, for example. In the Balkans, you've got a lot of different regional, well, the Balkans is a region, so you've got a lot of tensions within that region. So, sometimes these things are pretty dangerous, right? They can escalate pretty quickly. So anyway, hopefully things aren't escalating in your country. things are still okay here in Canada, although these geese, I think these geese might try to escalate things one of these minutes. They'll probably escalate into the air, right? So anyway, guys, that's it from me. Hope you guys are staying safe, healthy, and happy. As always, I love you so much. And I'll see you guys over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.